Georgians, down to the front. We need to talk. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we get into it, I want to give a huge shout out to my old faithfuls. Thank you so much for all of the support that you've provided to me over the years. I also want to give a huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for all of the additional financial support you provide to my channel every month. I really do appreciate it. And then I want to give a great big welcome to the newbies to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking that subscribe button. And if you've come across this video and are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button at The Real Tabitha Speaks. Make sure you're on the right platform. Anybody else, they're stealing my content. So if you've come across this video and are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button at The Real Tabitha Speaks. I'd be happy to have you. Now, Georgia, for all of the people out there, all of the Republicans or all of the Democrats that like to think of Brian Kemp as one of the good Republicans, bitch, he's not. Brian Kemp has signed Georgia House Bill 369 into law. At the core of that bill, it targets 5 majority Black districts in the Atlanta metro area: Clayton County, Cobb County, DeKalb County, Fulton County, and Gwinnett County. And basically, in a nutshell, what it does is on our ballots, if you have been a voter over the years, you've noticed that on your ballot, next to the candidate's name, in parentheses, it'll tell you, it'll mark an R or D. R for Republican, D for Democrat. Okay? And House Bill 369, which goes into effect January 1st, 2028. So it won't happen for the midterms, but it will be in effect for starting January 1st, 2028. So for the presidential election, it will be in effect. You will no longer see next to the candidate's name R or D. And what that does is it disenfranchises the Black voter, because a lot of the Black voters will just go into the voting booth and vote for Democrat because they just don't give a fuck. They know Republicans have nothing for Black people. So they just go in the voting book, look for the D, and vote for the D. And so the Republicans, the leaders of this state, said, we are going to confuse the Black voters in those 5 majority Black districts by removing the political ideology label on the ballot. So Black people, do you know what you are going to have to do now? You are going to have to fully educate yourself on the candidates that are on the ballot. That's what you are going to have to do. The candidates' political ideology will not change. A Republican, they're running for office, they will spew Republican ideology. Democrats, they will spew Democrat ideology. So that is the first thing that you are going to have to pay attention to. A candidate is talking about stopping woke, building a wall, tax cuts for the rich. If that's what they are talking about, those are clues that that candidate is a Republican. A candidate is talking about Medicare for all, is talking about standing up for women's rights, women's health care rights, talking about increasing the minimum wage. 9 times out of 10, that candidate is a Democrat candidate. But you are going to have to go deeper, because Republicans will pretend that they are Democrats and campaign using Democrat ideology to confuse you. They will. They will. So you are going to have to go deeper than just paying attention to political ads. You're going to have to pay attention to not just what comes out of their mouths, but you are going to have to pay attention to their actions. If they are a current um, politician in the House or in the Senate, at the state level or at the federal level, you're going to have to pay attention. What bills did they sign up for? What actions did they take while holding those political positions? You're going to have to do some research. You can follow content creators like myself who call out the bullshit, who try their best to educate you on these political candidates, these politicians. I do that often. Make sure you're following me on YouTube or on TikTok or on Substack. I do articles. I've done several articles highlighting Democratic candidates for the primaries here in the Atlanta metro area in Georgia. So I just want you to know, yeah, Brian Kemp, he's just like the rest of them. But don't get discouraged. Um, Fani Willis has already come out to say, baby, she is filing a lawsuit against that shit because it's racist. This what he signed into law, it only targets the 5 majority black counties in the state of Georgia. It does not target all of the counties in the state of Georgia. Just the 5 majority black counties in the state of Georgia in the metro Atlanta area. That shit is racist. And a lot of people are saying that it's against the Constitution. So Fani Willis has already come out to say that she will be fighting against that shit. Brian Kemp is one of the good ones, they say. Well, he's called a special session to redraw the maps for 2028. Now, he came out when the Supreme Court made its decision. He came out and said that he wouldn't redraw the maps for 2026. I'm waiting. I'm sitting and waiting and watching because the pressure is strong. The Republicans in this state want Brian Kemp to redraw the maps for 2026. And for him to come out and say, call a special session to redraw the maps for 2028, I'm waiting to see if that 2028 will turn to 2026. Anybody heard from Killer Mike? This is boy, right? Remember all of the pictures? Killer Mike shaking hands with Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp, he could talk to Brian Kemp. They could collaborate. They can come to middle ground. Remember he said that on The View? Yeah. Well, has Killer Mike set up any special meetings with Brian Kemp to talk about HB 369? Has Killer Mike set up any meetings to talk about gerrymandering the maps to dilute the voting power for black people? Has Killer Mike done that? Any of that? Has Killer Mike queued up his barber's chair and invited Brian Kemp down to get a haircut so that they can have conversation and talk about disenfranchising black people? Has Killer Mike done that? Okay. All right. I do know the black women in this state have already, who are leaders, who are in politics, have already stood up and firm against Brian Kemp and his plans. And they've come out publicly to speak out against Brian Kemp. I ain't heard shit from Killer Mike. It's not shocking to me, though. All right, Georgia. Tomorrow is your last day to early vote. So you have today and tomorrow to get out and early vote. Early vote ends tomorrow at 7 p.m. Then your next opportunity to cast your vote for the primaries is May 19th. Okay? May 19th. So go on out and get it done. Check out my Substack. Check out my Threads page. If you need a copy of your sample ballot, Democrat sample ballot, you can find a note over on Substack. I put sample ballots for Clayton County, Gwinnett County, Cobb County, Clayton County, and DeKalb County, Fulton County, the 5 majority black districts. Yeah, I put links to the sample ballot. So you could just click on that link, you can download it, you can print it off, and you could do your research, and you could take that printout to the voting booth with you. Okay, they don't like you to use your cell phones in the voting booth, but you can take your notes, that little paper, and go ahead and cast your votes. Okay, I'm not telling you who to vote for. It's the primaries. Vote your heart. Okay? Vote your heart. That's all I got. I'm going to sip on my coffee. I'm going to watch a few videos, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Oh, wait a minute before I go. I got some people to thank. Over on the Cash App, I want to thank Tracy P. Thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Pauline C. Thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Cordelia K. Thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate it. And I want to thank Brian H. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Over on the Venmo, I want to thank Becky L. Thank you so much, Becky, for your donation. I really appreciate it. All right, y'all, that's all I got. Okay, Georgians, go on out and be great. Get into good trouble. I'll see y'all later.